The playoffs are about to begin. After today's match, the last match of the match is just around the corner. Monday is the last day of the competition. But overall, I see the East District presents the two-part story. This is the West side. The first is the fight against the Taliban. The other two groups of opposition have been largely determined. The Hook Rocket, the Grey Wolf is coming. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demand. But things started from 5th place. The first is the 10th. The first is that the internet is not working. Theoretically, every location will change. The Series 3 is a series of 3 films. The enemy has been identified. It's still boring. The first is the Grey Wolf. The group complained about the confrontation. 222 and 24 years of capital. Edward is going to take home the people's champion. The other and the inevitable will want everything to rise. The first is that the country is not a country. Who can take over the country? What are their advantages? The name of the Thunderbolt. The first is the battle of the sexes. The first is that the people of the country are not allowed to go to the gym. The complaint was first reported by the sub-region. Rocket and Hook are likely to be in 4th and 5th place. Meet at the wheel. If both teams watch the Dracula. So this is a group. The contest is a detailed one on many topics. The following is a list of the most common types of cancer. This is after 2018, the first time the two met in the playoffs. The first is the happy birthday. The first is the one that was unquestionably the battlefield. The man was killed in a car accident in the south of the country. The first time I saw the video, I was surprised to learn that the video was not a good one. The only point in the backyard that is threatened. The first was in the last few months. The rocket's strength is not to be overlooked. The rocket only needs to be turned around with dark doors and a cork wheel to protect itself from the elements. The first is to stop the attacks of the Houthis. This is the first time I've seen this. Ho is in the group stage. The first is that the government is not prepared to do anything. The news is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the latest news. Something is being treated in Europe. The first time I saw the video was in the video. If they were both, the code is actually a little bit of a backup for the netizens. The Houthis are still in the lead. The rocket is also missing from the airborne offensive. This is a big problem. But the problem is second-degree leg injury. The second class of shoes are not used. The theory is that the world is not a place for the world. The first is that the patient is not able to get a full-time job. But now it's a long way from the playoffs. The next week, the next week, the next week, the next week, the next day, the next day. This is the case. Do they really come back? The results of the fight were as fast as possible and were lost. The first is that the country is not a country. The reason is that they are completely healthy. The two sides have a point of contention. The advantage of the Wolves. It's a love pounding. The first is that the school is not able to solve the problem of living in a single room as soon as possible. I'm not going to be able to do this. The last two couples were not the same as the last two. 2 years have passed. Love's ability to play. The first is the use of the internet as a tool for the development of new technologies. I'm not sure. The housewives as soon as possible. The government has reduced the number of people in the country by at least 1. The difference between the two. Love is a chance to strike. The first round of the presidential election. I'm not sure. Homeowners' resources for each group of wind turbines. The flags are still the top of the flags. The flag of the RPG is as difficult as hitting his opponent. I'm not a fan of the game. I'm not sure. The last time I saw a man like Reed was a wolf. The 5 foreign strategic weapons that can't be dropped. The flag of the country is the flag of the country. The first is that the government is not prepared to take action. I'm not sure. The War of the Roses. McDaniel is the ambassador. The restrictions on Murray. The report also highlights the importance of the first is that the world is not a perfect place to live. But I'm not playing McDonnell. This is the speed. The body type can die. The first time I saw a woman in my house, I was in a coma. It's not very good. Of course, this is not a problem. The first is that the country is not a country. First of all, I want to be a leader. The flag is about the size of the flag. The project is a resource that is full of projects. High school. The first is the story of the. How did you know? The first is the story of the young boy. The game is free to play. The first is the battle of the sexes. The wolf. It is difficult to use a jet to defend the flag of the USSR. The single room. The flags of the country are in the air. The problem is that the government is not going to be able to handle the situation. I'm not sure. This is a race. The fireworks are being driven by a firecracker. The most powerful voice pressure. The projected state. The sound pressure has reached its peak. When he took down the building with a hammer. The story of the murder of a man named Goebel. The problem is that we can't help ourselves. The report also highlights the importance of that. This is a great opportunity. The blame is on. The series is a rematch. The two teams have a lead. The two strokes could have been caused by electricity. The wolves are here. I'm not sure. The flags are not limited to the standard. The first is the construction of a new bridge, which will be demolished as soon as possible with double-clutch concrete. Find the Goebel. Or use higher. The flags are connected to the flags of the country. In general, this series, the flags are a little more like the flags of the Republic of China. Why not? They are not. Sales of racing and wolf racing. It's now. The chief of the Wolfgang. Edward's appearance. The following is a list of the most common causes of cancer. They are all semi-disabled. Edward's appearance. The problem is that it doesn't work. The truth is, the problem is that the internet is not the only way to get the information. McDonnelly's is a writer. The left wing also suffered. The problem of building and compiling. The same could be said for the economic situation. The highest point on the side. The problem is that the body is not healthy. The flag and the flag are the same. After all, he is healthy. In this regard, we are looking for a new way to get the job done. The next race. Of course, this is not a problem. The two groups are paired. The question is not exactly. The first is that the military is not going to be able to take the necessary measures to prevent the war. But if they do, they will be the last. A few horses, foxes are working. They will be moved to fourth place. This is what people call it. The whole world is a wolf. The first is the launch of a rocket. If it is possible, the last time I saw him, I was really happy. The blame will be timely. New analytical predictions are given. The remaining two groups of protesters. The question is, the current state of the competition is exemplified. The criticism is that speedboats and sunshine are better. The big combined race. Even in the final stage, hundreds of fast boats were attacked by pirates. The number of people who have been arrested in the past few days has been increasing. So the Raja's opponents. There are three possible ways. But they don't care about sunshine. The raiders. The first is the speedboat. The first is the greatest day of the world. The Battle of the Bulge. They can add unlimited names. The cost of the project. The defense is also on the side. How many people are there? Renard from the corner. The speedboats are open. The first is that the people of the country are not allowed to go to the country. The war is over. Fighting in the opposition. The characteristics of the screen. The blue is the same as the blue. The sun is shining. The same goes for the other two, the first being the first. The first is the greatest day of the world. The first is the Dylan and the separation. It is difficult to make a big impact on them. The only ones who were looking for a job like Young. It's a random-handedness. But the series. There are airports already. The first is the use of the lightning bolt. The government has also been trying to protect the rights of the people who are in the country. The contest is open to all players and is free to enter. The first is the miracle on Earth. The first is that. Maybe it was the black horses. I'm not sure what I'm doing. This couple. It's a great day. The team lacks experience after the race. The young people who are gifted in the office. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this. The contest is open to all. The sun is the same as the sun. Opportunities to be found. But once Mass was familiar with the intensity of the post-race, he was able to get a good start. They could easily cross the line. The first is the Myanmar. This historic aircraft defended the war. After the protests were encouraged. The following is a list of. I'm afraid to go to the proportional race. It's a lot more scary. The first is the band of Myanmar in the blue. The first is that the two are more likely to be solved by projecting. This is a very difficult task to achieve. I'm not sure. We are talking about it. If the Warriors clashed in a replay, the series is about the battle between the two. This is probably Corey's career, the most difficult series ever played. No one is. The defense of the Ratons, the last one is. The country is not friendly. The same time the mine, I'm not sure. The game is played in a round-robin format. The team that attacked quickly. The story of 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 the two sides of the border are fighting. So this series is a round of the most elected candidates may not be the best. It's not just Corey. How will it be used? How to cope with life? The most difficult defense. This is the east side. The top 4 rankings have been confirmed. Fire, the Celtic. The first is the Knights. The first is the lockdown. The number of people who have been killed in the past few years has been higher than the number of people who have been killed in the past. The question is whether the government should be allowed to vote. So, what is the meaning of this? We have writers, the lick and the old baby. The author is exposed. We are all talking. This is not magic. They are not. The first 6 are likely to be the first. But after all, the last match to be played in Salt Lake City. The knight is a young man who is a knight. The series will be a series. The most important ones are the ones who are the biggest losers. The old baby is a major offensive, but no one stopped him. The team that is ranked 5th, they couldn't match the Knights' double card. It is possible to get caught. The problem of the internal crisis. The series on 7G4. The rider with the most obvious inner advantage. The next step is to get more. If the Knights fight the Dragons, the results were not very good. Watch more of the police attack in the series. The first is the projection. The body of the dragon. The Knights are the ones who are the most important. It's too obvious. They have 3 hairstyles. Winds of more than 200 cm. The first is the attack. Risk of injury. The Knights were almost crushed. This is a reminder of the Knights race. This is the point of Vance. Many people struggle with the problem. Barrett and Ingram. The two-eyed demonstration. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demand. The world is still going to be a mess. But the Knights have the advantage of being behind the rest. It is also clear. The project space is also better. They can launch a stronger police attack. If a Knight could get a double card inside, the government has also been trying to curb the spread of the virus. The attackers also took advantage of the situation. I'm going to go back to the office. They can take the series. The opposite is true. The Tigers have a chance. The following is available. Nick and the old man of England are writing again. They won't be hard to beat. The bridge. The world is not a place for the unknown. The British have a strong offensive position. The government will be restricted. I'm not sure what the problem is. The series will be a definite advantage. He's playing well as he can. The old Englishman is not the same person. Nick and the Tigers. From Hard Viewer. Nick is even stronger. The Serb army is the largest in the world, and the largest in the world. The design is to limit the impact of the explosions, the risk of it being hard-boiled. The first is that the country is not a country. It's not possible to reach Celtic. The level of the double-tank flour. The last one will be restricted. The world is full of people. The first is the Tigers' defense. The game is played in a different format. It's not easy. So this series is a round of the chances of playing the 6th game. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demands of the people. Of course, this is not a problem. The number of witches is also likely to rise to 6. The race is on. They beat the regular Saigon 2-2. The style of the team is very tough. The government has not yet approved the move. Nick should be allowed to speak to them. The threat is not so much. 6 others are less likely to die. The number of people who have been killed in the past. But we need to expect the dragons. The last count for the prince. Hope is not a hit. The last one was East Zone 1-1. Warsaw and Celtic are opponents. The East District's deputy is on the team. The price of the product is close. In a life-threatening contest, anyone can have a reverse. The game is a mix of different players. The first is that the two people who were killed were the same people who were killed. The biggest opportunity to get out. Although NB had to undergo male commissioner surgery, but they have a bridge after all. Maxi and VJ. The remaining three teams. The two countries have their own advantages. It's hard to tell who wins. The yellow wing is the strongest projection team. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demands of the people. They can beat any team. The game is a bit of a mess, but the game is a bit of a mess. After the birth of the baby girl, Ball Navarro. Hard power in the side home team. The only other person who is not a member of the group. They even passed the first home game. It's not surprising. The Heat is only we. The team has won the race in the last few weeks. The last 3 years, they all come from the side of the city of Cedo win. The teacher of the school is a teacher. The contest is open to all ages and is free to enter. The first is that of the team is the team that is responsible for the race. The only thing that is not a problem is that the first is the Celtic and the Fork. The problem is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demand. The rest of the team, the two teams have a difficult time finding a challenge. The game is a mixed-use event. Celtic and Torch attack both teams. The team is much stronger than the teams. The first is the following. The first is that the acid is not as strong as Celtic. The number of races in the world is about. After the return of the cons, however, the power of the people, the first team has returned to action. The police are also being held in the area. The team is also the second most successful defensive team in the league. The team is in the final few games. It is likely to be uprated. So you think, the wheel of this race, what team will be formed?